This is Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 1. Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. I like to go into a lesson inspired by a statement that was made by Brother Azaria at camp, and he termed the phrase, the husbandmen of the earth. And it stood out to me through the spirit, because that's what the Lord is doing with our family as a nation of people, beginning with the elect under Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. Our nation is basically set up to be the husbandmen of the earth, under Yahweh Shai, of course. And that term, that phrase, really stuck out to me through the spirit, so I want to go into it. And let's start with the etymon of husbandman. All right. And look at what it says. Circa 1300. It says head of a family. Now, we know, Yahweh, we know the order. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and get the order. All right. This is 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Yahweh. So that's the order. Our apostles, I would argue that our apostles pretty much termed the phrase, out of order, because that's what you see happening, not only in our nation, but in the world in general. The world is out of course. There's a lack of order in the world, and it's because the husbandman, who is Yahweh Shai, who was given to that charge by his father, is not ruling in this world, this present age. So this present age is completely out of order. But the Lord is setting it up so that the husbandman, who is Yahweh Shai, and the husbandmen under him, who are the Israelites, beginning with the elect, will be able to till the garden of the earth. And then the earth will bear its fruit in righteousness. And it's beautiful when you look at it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai Shai. It gives you a very zoomed out perspective of what the Lord is doing. Because someone has to be in charge of the earth in righteousness. In order for righteousness to spring forth in the earth, in order to be established, the husbandmen have to be set up under Yahweh Shai. And that's what the Lord is doing. It talks about that the order, the first fruits, Yahweh Shai, the first fruits, then those that are his after. Because our family is basically set up to be the ruling class of all the families of the earth. That's why the Lord said this in Amos 3 and 1, hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. So our family as a nation of people are the head over the other families. But within our family, there's a hierarchy. There's an order. Yahweh Shai, all right, the apostles, the elect, the 1/3, so on and so forth. Even when you look at our tribes and how our tribes are set up, you have Judah, who is considered the head tribe. Well, when you zoom out even more and you look at all the nations on the earth, all the families on the earth, there's a head family. And the Lord is setting us up in righteousness to be those righteous rulers as a family, under Yahweh Shai, of course. As a matter of fact, let me get this. This is Psalms chapter 122 and verse 3. It says, Jerusalem is builded as a city that is compact together, whither the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, unto the testimony of Yasher Allah, to give thanks unto the name of the Lord. For there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. So the family is being established. Ultimately, the blessing is going to allow order to be enforced in the earth in righteousness. And then as those husbandmen of the earth, as the husbandmen get the opportunity and the power under Yahweh Shai to till the earth properly by establishing order, the earth is going to yield its fruit. And not just the actual fruit of the earth, of the ground, but the nations are going to yield the fruit that they produce. Because the Lord made these nations for a purpose, save Esau, who was only made for evil. And after that 1,000 years, Esau as a nation of people are going to be removed. But the other nations, in that environment of order being set up in righteousness, we're going to get a window into what they can actually produce as a nation of people. But the Lord set it up so that the nation of Israel, Jake, is the head family. And that's why in the kingdom, 2/3 of our people are going to come back in their right mind to continue forwarding the legacy of our nation as the rulers and judges. All right, this is why when you go into Revelation 5, it says this. All right, Revelation 5 and 9. And this is where, as a sidebar, this is where Christianity goes extremely off, because they're basically saying that the Lord's order, what he set up originally, he changed his mind. No, this was always the intent. Even what you notice is that the Lord called us what? A nation of kings and priests, right? Why would the Lord do that if only the Levites were considered priests? Why? Because eventually the entire nation will be given a order after the priesthood, after the order of Malak Tazadok. And I'm highlighting that to show that from the beginning, the Lord had a system set up and he didn't change his mind. This was just the process of bringing in the new age. And just like you always see order within it, hierarchy within it, the tribes, you have Judah as the head tribe. Amongst us as a nation of people, Yahweh Shai being the head of our family. Zoom out even further, the nation of Israel are the head of all the families of the earth. As the scriptures say, the earth was made for our sakes, not just for bragging rights, but that our nation's gift is rulership and dominion, but it's supposed to be rulership and dominion in righteousness. And this is just a process from start to finish of the Lord creating that in us as a nation of people, beginning with the elect. And it's beautiful because the Lord always makes references to gardening, agriculture. All right, real quick, this is Exodus 19:6. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. Listen to that, a kingdom of priests and an holy nation, which shows you the Lord always intended for our nation to be a nation, a kingdom of priests. Not just the Levites. It was just a process of us evolving, if you will, as a nation of people to that final stage of rulership and dominion in the kingdom of heaven. But the Lord never changed his mind. That's why when we go to, matter of fact, let me finish this. Exodus 19:6. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. So the Lord always purposed that our nation would be a kingdom of priests, all right, concerning the men of our nation. Now, when you go and fast forward to Revelation 5 and 9, it says, and they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. Do you see the connection between what the Lord told us as a nation of people in Exodus and what he's saying in the last book of the scriptures? This is the complete, at that point, a Dragon Ball Z reference. I haven't reached my final form. Well, this is the Lord taking us through the scenic route, but the finished product will be an immortal nation of righteous judges, which will be the husbandmen of the earth. The earth needs guardrails. And what I mean by that is order has to be established for the planet we live on to bear fruit properly. You shouldn't have to spray pesticides on crops. There's no reason to eat pork. There shouldn't be infrastructure and systems set up that intentionally harm and damage people just so you can make money. And in the midst of that environment, all the people of the earth are just trying the best that they can to live. That's why the Lord said he set up over it the bases of men concerning Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, as a nation of people that are not fit to rule. And the proof is in their rulership. It's all based on greed and lies. That's not a true husbandman. And this is why the Lord said this in Ecclesiasticus, the 10th chapter. And I'm going to start at verse 4, and then I'm going to jump back up. So Ecclesiasticus 10:4 says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. And Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, as a nation of people, are not profitable in the rulership position on earth. And the world we live in is a testament to it. They pretend as if this is how this is the only way the earth can be ran and ruled over. But in actuality, it's a product of their greed and their deception that keeps this world in such an unnatural state. And this is why the Lord said he's going to set up one that is profitable, and that is Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right, verse 1 says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. So the Lord's going to establish the true husbandman, beginning with Yahweh Shai, in the power seat. And then the world will yield its fruit. And then the world will be ran in righteousness. And this is why in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter and the 9th verse, it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Now, when you go into the world, when you deal with that word world, it's going into age. Esau represents the end of an age. This bitter, wicked age is going to pass away, and then whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus is going to establish order through his kingdom. That's why scriptures talk about his kingdom never being destroyed, because it's going to be established on righteousness. You can't establish a kingdom on wickedness and have it last forever. The moment you start a kingdom in wickedness, there's an expiration date. It's just a matter of what time. And the Lord has set up our nation to be established in righteousness. That's why we had to be corrected. That's the balance of it. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. And it's all for the purpose of us attaining the promise that the Lord made to our forefathers. And that promise gives the other nations the ability to be ruled in righteousness. Instead of fighting for the power seat, order is going to be established in the earth. And then from that, everybody's no longer fighting over power. Now people can actually live. All right, this is Wisdom of Solomon 6:24. But the multitude of the wise is the welfare of the world, and a wise king is the upholding of the people. And our king, the king of the world, really, King of Kings as he's known, an affectionate term also is, I want to get it, another affectionate term. This is Revelation 1:5, and from Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, who is the faithful witness and the first begotten of the dead, which shows you he's not the only one that can no longer die. He's the first begotten of the dead. All right, it says, and the prince of the kings of the earth. And who are those kings of the earth? It's the Israelites. And that's an affectionate term to say, you know, the Lord is our precious one. You know, even though he's king over all of it, he's that much more precious to us because of what he's went through and what we've been. And he's a part of our family. This is our older brother. You know, he's the ruler of the kings, the king of kings. And through that order being established, the world will be tilled in righteousness, man. And that's what the world needs. You know, most people in the world have just given up on the fact that the world is just going to be ran wickedly and then it's just going to be annihilated. And the Lord just created this whole creation just for it to be ran in wickedness and then obliterated. That's madness. And you know it's madness when you look at nature and how nature has its own order without human intervention and its own beauty. The Lord didn't make the planet for it to just be ran like this and then destroyed. All right. Matter of fact, I got a precept on that. This is Isaiah 45. It's one of my favorites, too. Isaiah 45, and I'm going to jump down to verse 18. It says, "For thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, the Most High himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else." The Lord didn't make it to just be ruled in vanity and then destroyed, man. But in order for the world to be ruled in righteousness, you need the husbandman. And that's what the Lord set up. That's why the Lord is fashioning us after his image. So that when Yahushua comes back, the elect under Yahushua are going to establish order in the earth while bringing back 2/3 of our nation who refuse their natural position as rulers in the earth in righteousness. They're going to have to learn this lesson through death by pain, but they are going to be the children of the elect in the kingdom. And that's what this is all about through the Spirit when you deal with salvation. The Israelites being saved from sin through the blood of Hamashiach Yahushua. And then the order of the earth being established through the blessing being given to the Israelites to be saved from sin and to be set up in our own land again to rule the nations in righteousness forever. All right. As a matter of fact, this is Deuteronomy 15:6. And it reads, "For the Lord thy God blesseth thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee." A sovereign nation of husbandmen. A sovereign nation of rulers, righteous rulers. Not ruling just for the sake of having a name and some clout. But rulers who are not in it for their ego, but for what is right. What is equity, what is equitable and right. And fair, if you will. And that's what the Lord is establishing in the earth. Beginning with Yahushua, with the elect following after that. And then the rest of the nation will come back in their right mind through the loins of the elect. And the term that Isaiah mentioned at camp on Saturday, the husbandmen of the earth, just stuck out to me in a great way through the Spirit. You know, because the Lord does a reference all throughout the scriptures of basically viewing the earth as like a garden, if you will. Why do I say that? Let's go here as an example. This is Matthew 24. And I want to jump down to Slakia. Bear with me. Maybe it's not Matthew. Yep. It's Matthew 13. So it's Matthew 13:38. And it says, "The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels." So that's a reference of the Lord's view of the world as a field. And what do husbandmen do? They till the field. Matter of fact, let's go back to etymology with the word husbandman. It says farmer, tiller of the soil. Now let's get this word tiller. It says tiller says one that tills. All right. One that tills. Let's get tills. It says here, to work by plowing, sowing, and raising crops. Raising crops. What did the Lord call us? Trees of righteousness. That means the other nations are considered some form of harvest or some form of agriculture. If the field is the world and the good seed are the sons of the kingdom. And we're going to be raised up, Lord willing, to set up order in the earth, to till the field of the world. You know, Lord willing, we be a part of that number. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.